Hi, so today we're gonna talk about something that is very important in art, which is how to get proportions right. Now, this is mainly for portraits, and you see, getting the proportions right in a portrait is incredibly important, which is also why portraits are very hard to draw. Because if 1 millimeter is off, if anything is just slightly off in a portrait, then the whole portrait is just gonna look bad. All right, and it's not going to look like that person really, like the person in the photo that you're trying to draw. So getting the proportions right in a portrait and in any drawing, but especially portraits, is something that is very important and necessary to get a good portrait. So if you're interested in drawing, you probably already came across videos showing you how to draw proportions right. And what most of these videos show you is, some show you to draw circles, some other ones show you to draw like a lot of lines, how some YouTubers even show you how to draw proportions right using mathematics. And I'll tell you something, all of those techniques are correct. But that's personally not how I draw, how I get proportions right in portraits. I actually use a technique that, before showing it to you, I'll give you the pros and cons of this technique. My technique, the technique that I personally use, is a bit more, it takes a bit more time to master maybe than some of the other ones, than some of the other techniques that you see, like for example, the one, where you draw circles and stuff like that. Um, but this one works all the time for any portrait, all right? And it takes quite a bit of, it also is a bit time consuming. It takes a bit of time to draw portraits this way, but again, it works. It always works, and it can be done without using any a lot of material really. Like the only thing that you use for this is really just a pencil or mechanical pencil and an eraser, whatever eraser you have. So let me show you. So here I have this paper. Now this is a 13 by 21 centimeter paper. And, I remember that when I just started drawing, this is the most intimidating part of drawing, a white paper, blank paper. This is terrifying, right? Now we're gonna turn this into this. Now this is a photo of Elle Fanning, and I'm using this one because I never drew it before, and I want to show you that, even without drawing anything, like even without drawing it, 2 or 3 times, it will always come perfectly. All right, it will always come out perfect. So let's get to it. Now, before starting the actual drawing, there's something that I always do, and I think that you should do it as well because it will save you a ton of time. And I haven't found this anywhere on YouTube, by the way, so I'm going to claim this. I think this is the first time that someone shows this on YouTube. So it's a tip that, it's something that I always do, which is matching the reference photo with, like, the ratio of the reference photo with the ratio of the paper you're trying to portrait on. This may not seem like it's really that important, but this will help you a lot with the proportions, and it will also help you a ton with centering the drawing on your paper, which is incredibly important. So I do this with Photoshop, but I'm sure that you can do this even with another software. I'm sure there are other software out there that you can do this with. All you need is really just a software that allows you to take a blank canvas on your PC or whatever, in centimeters or in inches. I personally use centimeters because, here I'm talking to you from Tunisia, and here we use the metric system. And I know that my paper here is 13 by 21 centimeters. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to show you how to do this right now. So we're going to take this photo here, and which is like the photo that I downloaded, by the way, as you can see. So we're going to open it with Photoshop. You can do a new, you do a small portrait. I already have it here. So small portrait drawing, this is like the size that I already saved on on Photoshop, which is, as you can see here, centimeters. So 13 by 21. And then we're going to do this just pixel to inch. We're going to do it 72, which is like the same resolution of this one. So there you go. Now we're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it here. There you go. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same. We can make it a bit smaller depending on how we want it. And I would say it's pretty good like this. Yeah. So we have to make it, centered. This is how it's going to appear on the drawing. So yeah. So now we have the photo, which is like the same size of the paper. So we can center it very easily and we can draw the middle. So I'm going to show you how to do this now. Okay. So here I have the paper, and as you can see, there is no line on it or anything like that yet. So I'm going to show you right now. First of all, we before drawing like the proportions, right, before we have to center the drawing. So to center the drawing, what I like to do is drawing the top of the head. So here's how to do it. So you see like the paper that like the photo that we have there, we have that margin, between the edge of the paper and the top of the head. So we're going to try to, and really, it kind of takes quite a bit of time to do this. There is no easy way, honestly. You can, like, if you want, you can do this with a ruler, but if you feel like it, you can really just trust your gut, right? And it definitely takes a bit of time to practice this, but I'm going to show you. So it's pretty much here. I'm using a 2H pencil, by the way, because even if we make a mistake, it's still not a big problem because this one can be erased very easily, right? So, and we can already like draw the outline of the face, of the head, not the face, the head, because this is going to help us, this is going to get the drawing centered since the ratio there of the reference photo is exactly the same ratio. So the margin that you see between the head there and the edge of the photo is exactly the same one between the hair here and the edge of this paper. By the way, 13 is here, like not this one, right? This is 13 here. From here to here is 13 centimeters. So we're gonna draw the edge of the head. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, by the way. It can be approximate. Also, another thing that is very important, the way I'm holding the paper, and this is super important to get proportions right, you need to have the paper perfectly aligned with your face. So it doesn't have to be like this or whatever, because that's really going to make that's going to make the some like this part, for example, if it's like this, it's going to make this part look bigger than this part, and so it's going to come out disproportionate. So you have to make sure that the drawing is perfectly aligned with your face. That is absolutely important. And trust me, I ruin drawings that way, so don't do that same mistake. Now, another thing that since we reached this point here, which is like the bottom of the reference photo, you have to make like the bottom here approximately, again, has to be like the same space between here and here, right? So there and there. And then, what I suggest you do here is that you do the center of the face. Now, we're not going to do a lot of like lines and stuff like that. Many of these YouTube channel, many tutorials that I've seen on YouTube. And again, I'm not trying to bash them or anything like that. I'm sure that they work as well. All right, they do work. All right, their techniques do work, but I think that they are very confusing. And so, what I like to do here is instead of making all those lines and someone will show you here, make a circle here, a circle here, a circle here, and it's all like circle, and the drawing ends up looking like a bowling ball. So instead of that, we're gonna do this. Look, we're gonna draw a line, one single line, and you can use as reference. You have to take a lot of reference points. We're gonna use this line here to see the two things. It's going to give us two information. Two informations at the same time. It's going to give us the middle of the face and the inclination of the head, and this is super important. So you can use as a reference, like to see where the middle of the face is. You can use here the middle of the hair, like the separation here of the hair. So the separation of the hair is pretty much here. Again, this also can be a little bit off. It doesn't have to be perfectly correct the first time. Now, I would say that this is pretty much correct. So as you can see here, the middle of the face, we're gonna see it with the nose, really, with the line of the nose. So it's pretty much you have to take the pencil. So you see there, you have to take the pencil and you have to like pretty much align it with the nose. And then you have to get that same inclination on the paper. So like this. This is pretty much like how the face is, the inclination of the face. So this is all pretty much all we need here, really. We're gonna finish the hair, just the line here of the hair, just to have like the width of the face to get it pretty much, you know, accurate, and just to have an idea if like our proportions are already right or not. And here you can already see if like you made some mistakes maybe or you didn't. And you know, again, at this point it's very easy. Like, I mean, I'll show you how easy it is to draw, to like to erase this. So there you go, it's completely gone. So it's like, you know, even if you make a mistake, it's really not important. Here we're really just taking like a lot of reference points. So you know, the way I made here, like the like the jaw here, and again, it might be a bit wrong, but it doesn't matter. And it's really like taking this point right here, like the distance between this point and this point. You can take a lot of like different, you know, reference points, but this is how I personally do it. Now, I would suggest at this part, don't go too crazy with the details, because, you know, if it comes out, you know, if you make a mistake and you start detailing now, then it will be harder to like to erase the details, and it will be harder to like, you know, to fix the drawing, right? If it comes out wrong. And you know what? Probably you're gonna make mistakes. I mean, I always make mistakes in portraits. It's normal. Also, since this video is only going to be a tutorial on how to get proportions right, so I'm not gonna make the, you know, the shading and all that. That's gonna be for another video, because then, you know, the video is gonna come out way too long. But in the next video, we're also gonna use the same photo. So I'm gonna show you like the drawing from start to finish. So you have like a very good idea of how to draw a drawing, like an entire drawing, an entire portrait. Also, another thing that is really important when you choose like a reference photo, and this is something that I forgot to mention before, don't, and I really mean this, do not choose a blurry photo or a photo that, you know, is not really clear. Now, you don't have to, you know, find a 4K photo. This is not a 4K photo, but or like any, you know, incredible like a resolution, but it has to be clear enough to see like every element of the face clearly, right? So that's very important. So here now we're going to draw the bottom of the face essentially. And again, as you can see here, I'm taking a lot of like reference points again from here to here, and this is pretty much the same distance. And again, if there is an issue, then we can fix it later. It's not a problem. The neck is very important. If you make the neck too, you know, too wide or anything, it's really gonna, you know, this is the good thing about like mistakes in this case. If you make like a mistake, it's gonna be very clear, and so you can fix it pretty easily. Like, you know, you're gonna know what's off in a drawing, if you, especially in a portrait, if you make a mistake, because the drawing is just not gonna look like her, right? Especially, you know, if you've seen like this person quite a bit of times, you know how her faces or his faces, in this case Al Fanning, you know, I've seen her in quite a lot of movies, so I know how her face is, and if this is not exactly like her face, I won't notice if the, you know, if the nose maybe is too big or the mouth is, you know, in a different place or whatever, right? And one thing that is really intimidating about drawing portraits is that right now, when you're going to draw this, at first, at this point, it will seem wrong and it will seem like a mess to you. But it's normal, because portraits at this stage all look bad. All right, it doesn't matter. Even Leonardo da Vinci's drawings look bad at this point. Most of the drawings look bad at this point. You know, even though the same thing goes with oil paintings, but I'm going to do a different video about that, because that's a bit different. Yeah. Now, if you want to get like to check if the margin is like here, between here and here, like the distance is correct, you can actually fill this a little bit with a 2H pencil. And then, you know, if you really don't want to, you can like, you know, if you want like a white thing, you know, in the back, you can like erase it later. I'm not going to, because she has blonde hair, so it's better to make a bit of a darker, at least in my opinion, it's better to make a darker background for a person with blonde hair or with light hair, because it gives more contrast, and so it really makes the drawing pop out a lot. So I'm not going to erase this, but this is like this is a good way to check if like the drawing is actually is actually centered or not. And from what I can see here, I think we actually nailed this, and it seems to be really centered. So you can do this even here, you can see. And as you can see here, the this distance here is pretty much exactly the distance there. Like, just by looking at it, I can tell that it's pretty much the same distance. So we did a pretty good job with this one. So see here, for example, we have a little mistake here. So as you can see here, the hair here is not as wide as the hair in the photo there. So here's what we're going to do. It's going to be very simple. So we're going to take the eraser, erase it just a little bit, like that. And the same thing here goes right here. And there we go. Now it's correct. So again, see, it really didn't take that much. And a lot of people just, when they see a mistake here, and I used to do this as well, I would just get mad and, just throw the thing away and be like, oh, I messed the whole drawing up. But that's really not the thing. It really takes, fix these problems in drawings. It really just takes like, a couple of seconds, as you just saw. And so, just don't get mad. Be patient, all right? And it should work. It will work. It's not that it should work. It will work. So you can draw just a little bit of like shadow, just to give you an idea. This is not like going to be, the final, shading or anything like that. This is probably not going to even be like visible in the end. But this is just to give you an idea if like if your proportions are already kind of right or not. So there you go. As you can see, this is pretty much already, like just from here, it already seems pretty accurate to the photo. And I know that it may not seem like so to maybe some people, but some of you, but this is actually pretty accurate already. So we're gonna draw just a bit more details just to have like a clearer, I guess you can say, more clear picture already of how the drawing looks, and if the to see if the proportions are really correct, or if they maybe need a bit of tweaking here and there. Oh, now you can do two things here. Now the first thing that I would suggest here, and this is like really the important piece where you start to get the proportions right. So now we're gonna start drawing the actual face, and the way that I like to do this, instead of like drawing a lot of lines and stuff like that, it can come out really confusing. And it can be very confusing. And plus that, I mean, if you get like a line wrong, and like for example here the mouth is kind of here, but what if the mouth is really a little bit more here or here or whatever, right? That can be a really big problem, because then you're gonna get like the whole face is gonna come out really wrong, and it's gonna come out disproportionate. Maybe the mouth, instead of being here, it's actually gonna be here. So what you're gonna do, what I think is actually a really good way, is this. Look, instead of doing the lines and all that, we're actually going to use shades. We're going to use shades only with this pencil. You can already do this with this. So what we're going to do here, first of all, we're going to erase this a little bit. You can also keep it, by the way, but I prefer to erase it just to, not get it too mixed up with the shades. So these are not going to be like the, necessarily like the final shading, final, it's not going to be like the final shading, but it's definitely like a start. And you can see like the distance between we're gonna draw this with the distance between each element of the face. And so again, see, there was a bit of a mistake there, but we can just delete that. There you go. Now it's more accurate. So this we're gonna draw the distance between the hair here. Well, I like to use the middle of the hair as a reference point all the time, because it's very clear. So we're going to draw the distance between here and the eyebrows, the end of the eyebrows. So that's pretty much here, as you can see. You can also like jump from like, element to element. You don't have to go like completely like down like this, and it has to come out perfect. You can even, start here, for example. You can do kind of like a sandwich, I'm going to speed this up a little bit, because this is really just, me drawing essentially all the shadows in the face, and trying to get the shadows like of the exact length of the shadows on her face. So yeah, this is gonna be again. This is why I said that it's a bit time consuming. It is a bit time consuming. This is probably gonna take you, if you did it, for the first time. This is probably gonna take you a couple of hours, maybe even more. But it's completely normal. Even all those like drawing tutorials on YouTube, they show you, oh, you can do this in 5 minutes or something like that. Most of those videos, they actually already did that drawing something like 200 times, right? So they're doing it very quickly because they memorized it essentially. So this is a photo that I never drew before, so, you know, this works with any photo essentially. And it will always take you a little bit of time, but it always works. So I think it's very good. Suggest. Again, if there is like even an issue here with the alignment of the face, you can always use like, again, a bit of like like these lines here just to see like where like the end of every uh like the bottom or like the middle of every element of the face is. And again, if you make a mistake, it's really not a problem. Okay. I'm really like stressing that point because I remember that when I started drawing, I was like really terrified of making a mistake in a drawing, and I would like follow, the people that would make tutorials on YouTube to the letter, and I would find their exact same reference photo and try to get it, to do exactly what they did, like stroke by stroke, and that's really not helpful. You have to draw on your own. That's really the only way that you're going to draw. And you don't have to draw just, one eye or one mouth or something. If you want to draw like portraits, well, then you have to draw portraits. Okay, you have to take a reference photo and you have to draw it. All right. So you can erase like the line that shows the middle of the face as you draw, because then if you make a mistake, maybe that's going to be a little bit harder to erase. So you can really just erase it as you go because you don't need that anymore. So you can just now we need it for the mouth, so we're just going to keep it for the mouth. So that actually really works and helps a lot. So again, you can see here the distance between, this is very important. So you can see here the distance, this is what I like to use. The distance between this narin and the tip of the eye there, like the little, corner of the eye. So you can you have to make sure that like this distance here is correct, and this distance here is also correct. And again, if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal, but this is going to save you a bit of time, right? So try to get this correct. So even if you make like a mistake here, for example, the shadow here was like too, like in the tip of the nose, you can actually like erase it and basically draw with the eraser. So I'm using this one, a Tombow Mono Zero eraser, and this is essentially a precision eraser. Now I'm not sponsored by them, but I would say I would really suggest you buy this because I didn't have this for a long time, and I just recently got it, and it helps a lot. Like it's a lifesaver really. So it really saved me hours. So really, if you can, I suggest you get one. It's not really that expensive. It's much cheaper than an electric eraser. That honestly, as I said in the previous video, I never really had the need to buy one. So, and I know they're pretty expensive. So I would suggest you buy this instead. Again, here the shapes here of the nairns, for example, they don't have to be perfectly accurate. We're gonna now I suggest for that part when you're like drawing the like each element of the face, especially in a drawing like this that is not really that big. This is like 13 by 21 centimeters, so it's not really a large drawing. I would suggest you use a mechanical pencil, and we're gonna do this in the next video, which is gonna be about detailing and shading. So one way here that I really like to with which I really like to draw the mouth, or well, in this case, she doesn't. The teeth are not visible, so this is actually a really big help because the teeth are actually pretty hard to draw. Again, at first, then when you get used to them, they're actually not really that hard, but at first they're pretty challenging to draw. So thankfully, in this one, I didn't even see it when I didn't even like care about it when I found the reference photo. But she actually doesn't show teeth, so this is actually a really good reference photo to like for this one for this video. So the way I like to draw a mouth here, this is actually a very simple mouth to draw because it's closed. So you just draw a line here, and this is going to show you like the inclination of the mouth, right? And again, you can really use it. You can take as like a reference to this, the inclination of the mouth. First, the inclination of this line here that we kept for the mouth, and this is very important, and the inclination also of the eyebrows, because they're pretty much the same, like I mean, they're exactly the same inclination. And to see here, this is actually something that is incredibly important. And another really good, in my opinion, this is a really good tip that can really save you quite a bit of time. And now you have to, well, even if you made a mistake here, again, it's not a problem. But just to get like the length, the width of the mouth, right? You have to use what I like to use is like the nose. So it's pretty much here, from here to here. This is pretty much the inclination here, and this is pretty much the inclination, let's see, so it's pretty much here. There you go. So this is going to be, the mouth is going to be here. And then you have to see like the distance between, so here we got like the two ends of the mouth, right? Now you have to see the distance between the bottom of the nose, so there's no point right here, and the top of the mouth. Now, this has to be really accurate, and if you make a mistake here, it's not really a problem, but you have to make sure to fix it, because then it's gonna be a problem, definitely a problem. So it has to be just, resembling pretty much, but this is already actually pretty accurate. If yours doesn't come out as accurate as this, it's not a problem, really. We're gonna fix it later in the next video, and I'm gonna show you how to draw the details, detailing and shading. This is all gonna like get fixed, and so yeah, this actually came out, I would say, perfect. Now we're gonna draw just like the shape of the eyes here. Again, this one thing here that you have to know about eyes. Now, I already did like a video on how to draw eyes, but I made a video on how to draw eyes accurately. So I made a video on how to like do the shading and everything. So this is gonna be essentially the part before that video, and I'm gonna repeat like how I did that in the next video when I'm gonna draw like the entire face, like with details and shades and all of that. But here we're just gonna draw the structure of the eye. So you can here to get like you really just have to get the position of the eye essentially. Right. So you can use a lot of reference points in this case. I like to use again the nose here. So between here and here, I would say it's pretty much here. And you can use also again here you can use a just a line, like to see that both eyes have to be aligned with each other. Like if this one ends here, this one is probably going to end here. Okay, um, like the tip here has to be aligned with this one. So that's just a little pro tip. Now this is like the thing that I already said in the other video, but I'm gonna say it here. Is that this may seem a little bit disappointing to you when you're drawing like an eye like this, because it's not gonna look like they're not gonna look like the eyes in the videos that you see on how to draw an eye. But again, you have to take that image off of your head. All right, the eye looks like that. The eyes are not really that detailed in most photos. So they're just gonna look like this. Most eyes really just look, they're not really that clear in most photos. So you have to draw what's in the photo and not what's in your mind. So that's really important. And this is something that again I used to make a lot as a mistake. I wanted the eyes to look a certain way, so I would just draw them how I wanted them to look like, right? And that's really a really bad habit that a lot of these a lot of these like YouTube videos give you. And I would really suggest you lose that habit, because that's gonna mess up your drawings. And it's really hard not to get like too, crazy with the details and everything, but you really just have to try not to make way too much detail. So you can see that, for example, here there's a mistake. The mistake here is that this, like from here, I can see that there is a little bit, not enough jaw, essentially. The face is essentially a little bit too flat. So what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna add a bit of jaw simply by deleting and like by erasing some of the shadow here. And it's no big deal. Again, you're gonna make mistakes. I make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes, and it's not a problem. You just have to make sure to fix them while you're still at this stage, preferably, right? Um, One thing that has to be said is that the smaller the drawing is, the more mistakes are going to appear. Now, this is going to, this has a pro and a con. The pro is that you can see errors more easily than in a huge drawing. But the con is that essentially you have to get everything even more accurate, and it's harder to get things super accurate when they're super small. So this is why you need to why I suggest you use a mechanical pencil, especially for this size of drawing. But again, later, not now. So here, for example, I can tell that the mouth is just slightly, no, actually not really, well, just a little bit, maybe too wide. So we can just erase it a little bit. And there you go. Now it's a little bit more accurate. And again, see, like here, just erasing like 1 millimeter can really like change the entire face. But that's really because like the drawing is really small. So every little change can really change everything, right? Honestly, if I were you and you just really just started drawing, I would suggest to use maybe an A4 paper, like a 4A paper, something that is like bigger than this paper, because this paper is, it really, like, it's really small, so like it has to be very accurate here. And if you just started drawing, that's probably really not a good idea. So get a paper that is a bit more forgiving than this paper right here, like than this size of paper right here. So yeah. So the more detail you also use, the more it's going to start to look like the person, the person that is in the photo. Like for example here, if I, usually it starts to look like the person that you're drawing when you add like these, the dimples, or, some like, marks on the face. It really starts to look like that person, and not just a face that could be anyone, like some Jane Doe or John Doe face. So yeah. And it's actually, when you draw a portrait, and this is the reason why I really like to draw portraits, because when you draw a portrait and it really, starts to look like that person, it's an incredible feeling, and it really feels like like you really just gave life to a drawing, and it's really I think it's really priceless. It's really priceless. So I think this is enough, honestly, for today. What we wanted to do, I think we achieved it. The proportions are correct, as far as I can tell. And I'm not gonna do like the whole like shading thing and all that, because the video will come out really long, and I think it's really not the case to make an hour-long video. So I think that even speeding it up, it would still take way too much time, because I would have to explain how to make the shadings and all the details. So it would probably take like an hour, even more maybe. So I think that this is the most like digestible way to make this video. So yeah. So I hope you found this video really helpful. I think that the drawing, well, no, it's mirrored, but so it doesn't look as good, but I think it looks really good. I think it's very accurate already. Again, if you make some mistakes or whatever, it's not a problem. At this stage, you can make as many mistakes as you want, really. You can erase them very well, very easily. And again, this is like really why I like to do drawings like this. It's because this part is super forgiving, right? And it kind of reminds me of oil painting, but we're gonna get to that in another video. So next time I'm gonna show you how to do shading and details. So I hope you like this video. I hope you found it really helpful. If you did, please let me know. Comment, like, subscribe to my channel to not miss the next video, of course. And thank you all very much for watching, and thank you all so much for like all the new subscribers. I mean, I cannot believe that we're already at more than 200 subscribers with just like, you know, 2 videos. So, you know, I'm really humble for this. Thank you so much to all of you. I'm glad you're all liking my videos, and see you all in the next video.